Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Invader series. Today we'll be looking at a formation that you see on the board. And our question is how we can invade White's formation. At first glance, you might be saying, man, you're crazy. How can you possibly invade such a solid defense formation? For the previous few sections, we're looking at giant moyos and stuff like that. But how can you possibly, invade something like this? This is so solid. Is there still something we can do? Well, as my series suggests, we're the invader. By the end of the entire series, you'll become a very aggressive invader and very effective invader. And there's pretty much pretty much everything you're able to invade, or at least find some ideas to make some sort of harassment or stuff like that. So yeah, the answer is that yes, you can invade an formation like this under certain circumstances. So you can feel free to pause the video and think about some invasion points. And when you come back, we'll go through the thought process. So what are some of the possibilities if we go directly into the corner, like playing q3? White will block us at r3. And it's not so clear what black can do here because white has a lot of stones. If black pushes out, white will hane. If black hanes, white can extend at q6. And now there's obvious cutting point, and if a black makes the tiger's mouth, white is able to connect everything back, and there's no cutting point for white. So white is all connected, and then black has the very heavy group just hanging there, and he has to run, and he has to pay for the insecurity that he has. So that's a terrible idea to keep going with this group. At this point, black can obviously also just play p4, and I've seen this quite a bit in online games. Here, although this is not our main topic today, I'd still like to introduce you guys how we can play locally to achieve the best result. Because sometimes our opponent drags a group out just like this in a very brutal, uncivilized way, right? Like it's very bad shape, and it's just an overplay. And how do we punish such a thing is what we need to also focus on. So here, I recommend you to play the move n4. So I know a lot of my viewers would be like, oh, why don't we just, play this one? But as turns out, black can just come out like this and then play like this. And it turns out your O4 stone is not very well placed. It is kind of getting squeezed by black's group as well. So now black has some ways to fight back because your stones are not so well placed. But look at how I play as white. So to punish black here, white's going to play a Kosumi. Very, very nice shape. Black still has to come out. And then white patiently extends. If black pushes, white can go ahead and play the hane. And then just extend. Look at how patient I play as white. So at this point, white has a lot of strength towards the top, but also white has a very, very good shape on the bottom as well. So the game likely goes as black will play a tiger's mouth, and then white will play a very solid defensive move at k3 to avoid any sort of counterattack that black has over here. So the result of this is that white is able to get both sides while black's group is still not alive. So this is a leading game for white, as we can clearly see. So it's not our main topic. I'd still like to show my viewers how we can punish some overplays by your opponent, right? So it's at this point, instead of be impatient, oh, let me push. The more you try to catch your opponent, the less likely you're going to be able to do it, because when you play this move, your opponent just going to be like a slippery fish. Like he's gonna get out, and there's no way to catch him. And all of our shapes have deficiencies. There's all kinds of problems in our shapes. But instead, what we're using is the philosophy of making ourselves solid, right? We can first make good shapes, make solid shapes, and then be very patient, because black cannot go anywhere. Black has to go this direction, and then there's no clear way for black to get home very easily, right? If black pushed this way, we already showed. If black pushed this way, we can just keep following him. We can just do this, and look at what happens. All of our stones are facing a very, very nice site for development, and look at what black is doing. It's all facing these solid stones. That there's absolutely nothing to build here. This is a desert area, and then nothing can be done by black playing this way. All right, so that's how you would punish an overplay like that. So today, obviously, we don't want to introduce you guys an overplay. What are some of the other options? If black plays this one, this is kind of useless because white can just defend everything like this, and black's under attack. White's shape is very solid, so it's kind of the same situation as before, right? White stayed very solid, and then black has weaknesses. Sometimes a more creative looking move would be p5. This could be played under some circumstances, but for the sake of invasion, this is not a great move, because white now has a very solid defensive move, that is to play q4. And now this is just a castle. This is you cannot penetrate this castle anymore. The white is really solid. You play this one, white can just get himself back. Everything in here is secured. I'm not too sure what these two guys are dancing, this kind of dancing in the middle, not sure what they're doing. So that is not necessarily a great idea for invasion. What about some of the moves that you might have seen out there, such as attach? It looks like a really good move, but good moves have to be backed by calculations. When white plays this one, what's your follow-up? If you crosscut, white can extend at s4. And it's not so clear how black is going to live here. So realize that things like this are not going to live, because white is able to kill black. So the variation here could be complicated, but overall, it is not so easy for black to live inside. So in this case, black can probably just kill everything here by playing s2. The attach looked fancy, but we have to read things out. If we don't read things out, it could be a suicide immediately. And in our case, it's probably a suicide because white has a lot of stones fighting. All right, so let's introduce you the correct solution. So the first move is for black to peep at q6. Looks like a very forcing move. White will connect and ask, okay, what's next? And now black will go into the q3, right? Previously, it did not work out. But if white defends with the same way this time, there's going to be a lot of problems, because black now has a q6 stone supporting. First of all, things like this could already work because there's a q6 stone protecting this cutting point. Also, black can play this one. When white wedges, now we can see that q6 stone is really helping, and then black can just go ahead and connect at p4. So that would be a very, very interesting invasion now. It's not like previously without our supporting stone. We're in huge trouble. When we play out this one, this is very awkward for black. But since we have exchanged q6, everything is different. We're able to get this Atari, and then we can connect. And then, you know, there's a good way that we can, or I mean, there's, you know, getting out is not as difficult as before. So that's the difference. White can play r3, and this is actually the correct solution that I would recommend to my viewers. It's easier to understand, but let's first look at some of the other defenses that white has. If white blocks at q4, black will play p3, and then we're more or less at the same spot as before, because black has this very annoying hane when white double hanes. So if white extends, that's not very good, because black is able to get a huge corner. I think every one of my viewers would love this result for black, so I wouldn't explain too much why, because visually it's very obvious. So what white can do is try to double hane. Here black has two choices. One is to just capture, and then black gets a sente, and then black can work towards the left side. So this is a great move that black can, this is a great variation that black can choose. And then in some cases, black might think, you know what, the corner is bigger than the outside, so he can just connect. White needs to fix, and then black has ways to live in the corner, such as jump at S3. So after this, black is able to get himself a very decent corner. So black is gonna break the territorial balance, and white is gonna, you know, look to build something outside. But overall, it's a very successful invasion because black is able to get a lot of territory. So that's pretty much about q4. Usually this is not a great move because black is able to get a lot of territory. What about p4, right? It looks really great, because now black does not have all these p3 stuff like that. But it turns out that p4 is not very solid, and it's actually a problematic move. To fight against p4, black can push, forcing white to obviously cut black off. And here black has a Tsuji that is just to play r3. A lot of my viewers would be like, oh wow, this is an Atari, let's do it. But this is actually a mistake, because after you Atari, white's r4 stone is really solid. When you play this one, white is able to hane and connect. And then black has a liberty problem, and he has to go ahead and probably live here. It's possible, but then black is very small. White gets a sente and has a very thick outside. White can go ahead and play wherever he wants to play. So the Tsuji is to not Atari here. Rather, it's to play directly at r3. And now white is in an awkward situation. Like, he does not want to play this one because we can capture the stone. And this weakness is still here. So really important for you to play R3, making sure you have Atari on both sides. If white extends, and now we can Atari. After this great exchange, we're able to Atari now. And now we can attach. And now, as we can see, our corner is a lot bigger than before. Before we were really squeezed into the corner, but now our corner is a very decent size. All right. Later on, we will have 7 points in the corner. So that's an excellent outcome for black. And if white fixes on top, nothing to worry about. We can just live like this. So if white blocks, black can just play elsewhere already, because black is already alive. And if white plays this one, black can Atari, and then makes the tiger's mouth. And then this is also alive for black. If white plays this one, we can make an eye. And black is going to have 2 eyes. And then on top of that, there's a very serious cutting point at p5. So white has to worry about this cutting point at some point. So this is a typical, very successful invasion, because not only was black able to get rid of territory, but also creating weakness for opponents. So we talk about the p4 defense, and we talk about the q4 defense. So at this point, you might be wondering, well, what can I do, right? Like, I had 3 stones protecting the corner, and my opponent can still invade me. Like, what is going on? How do I defend so that I don't fall behind or stuff like that? For my viewers, I recommend you to block at R3. When this happens, when black connects, white's next move is to play N5. So yes, we lost a lot of territory here, but we gained initiative, and now we can start an attack onto black. So if black comes out, we can think about potentially attacking this way, so that we have influence towards the left side. So that's one idea to fight against this invasion. So another possibility is for black to play the tiger's mouth. So this is quite advanced, right? Like, playing a tiger's mouth, it's not easy to figure out why you should play this. But this is AI recommended. In case your opponent plays like an AI, you defend yourself with a jump here, because there's some shake problem. And eventually black still has to get out, and then white can keep going with this idea, attacking this way so you can build towards your left, while in the meantime your side still has territory. So that would be how you would keep the equality moving forward as white. So nevertheless, this is a very, very serious invasion. It is very hard to deal with. Takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of knowledge to deal with black's peep first, and then coming to your q3 next. So let's quickly recap. Black peeps first, and then go to q3. If white plays this one, we can take this as a standard variation. Black is able to make himself alive, and then white gets the outside. So that's a possibility, but just keep in mind that white lost a lot of territory in doing this. And then we also talked about p4, which is not a great move, because black can push and then to Suji at r3. This is forcing black to extend to prevent this Atari, and then black can now Atari, attach, extend back, and then finally block at s3. black has a 7-point corner and some weaknesses for white outside because white's groups are cut off. So black will eventually make use of the weakness over here. And finally, we talk about the correct defense, that is for you to block at R3. Black will push, white will wedge, that's the shape move. And then after this, white will patiently play N5. If black plays O7, we can attach, we can make the kema. But the idea, it doesn't matter the move, both probably works. The idea is for white to work on this side while securing this side. So this would be how the game plays out in an evenly fashion. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoy this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for watching. Talk to you guys next time.